Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you for checking out my channel. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks. It is July 30th, 2026, and today I'm going to talk a bit about privacy, positive systems, and what the foundational makeup of interactions really is to positive alignment. I'm going to make a secondary video about negative alignment, and I'll put a link in the description when I do that, so that if you're watching this in the future and I've already made it, you can jump right into it. Also, I have sort of a before this video discussion, which is like over an hour long. I recorded the other day. I haven't put it up yet, but I think I'll probably put it up as private, just because it's a good video. It's long. I touch on so many things, which is why I'm trying to recreate this one where I'm just going to focus on positive systems alone, and then have another whole video of negative systems afterwards. Two reasons. One, of course, because I'm trying to condense and make the videos like more watchable, maybe 20 minutes to under a half an hour, if that's quick for me. I know a lot of people are really losing attention span and don't even have the capacity for a 20-minute video. You know, they're watching like shorts, like a minute, 2 minutes, and I've just had the camera on for almost 2 minutes. I've said literally nothing. So I don't know. I just cannot for the life of me understand how people can snap out things, information, and it's just, comes out concise. I don't have that gift. So for those of us who are a little bit more long-winded, I have that hour-long video. You can check it out. Trying to make a little bit more like quick in my book, under 20 minutes or so here on this video. So I will have the follow-up of negatives, alignment and perception after, and it's going to be really clear to see what they've done with positive when we talk about negative. So I'll leave that for now. But the foundation to lay is the positive organic template, and this I call positively aligned, as in it's looking for a overall balance which is positively charged. Positive charge leaves energy for later. Positive charge pushes outwards, right? A positive charge means abundance and surplus. And so when we seek a balance that is positively aligned, it means we look for an overall residual effect which is lasting and abundant. This creates eternal giving and flowing with this offering at the forefront. So systems in themselves always incorporate external and internal, a positive and a negative interaction and ebb and flow, give and a take, push and a pull, positive, negative, male and female. There's this, every single system integrates those parts already. When I'm talking about balancing, it's about the conversations and interactions between all systems. If we cut the books, if we looked underneath the hood or whatever, a snapshot at any moment of the energetics, we would see a ratioed balance, a proportional balance, which shows that there is more in the positive than there is in the negative. It doesn't mean there's no negative whatsoever. That's not positive alignment does not mean absolutely no darkness, no negativity, no inward pull, no inward mechanisms at all. Positive alignment represents a partnership between both that respects both in accordance with the whole, that there's a whole. Okay, so it's like a coin with a heads and a tails, and both sides know that they're part of a coin, a one coin. You know, if we look at yin and yang, the black and the white, the whole is the circle within, you know, the shape in which they both black and white embody. Night and day, right? We have sun and moon, light and dark. It encompasses a holistic 24 hours period of a day, of an experience, the now, the moment. So it's never to pull apart these two and say that one exists without the other. I'm just merely wanting to showcase one and then the other in order to help us to really delineate between operations and functionality, because not understanding what we're getting involved with and what exchanges are asking of us, and what system we're actually implanting and instructing to run, you easily can get lost and misbalanced and out of flow and out of balance. Meaning to say, you know, the positive alignment encourages this complete holistic view, which partnership encourages harmonious solutions and this exchanges that respect and honor everyone involved in it. So there's positive alignment has this basis, this foundation of sovereignty, of unconditional love, of respect, of meaning and purpose. Now, having that sets the tone for, you know, what I'm going to talk about now, which are laws, you know, of basically instructions of interactions of how a system works. So, positive system alignments interact and hold this notion of a holistic whole, and that the one whole is seen and observed, is put into motion on purpose, with purpose, divinely designed by one infinite creator. The one infinite creator is a benevolent source of unconditional love. Not feel good, emotional love, not desire, not lust, not wants. You know, it's not affinity based. That's all things to do with the construct, and that's all things that have to do with us in the moment. Before and after, it's different rules. It's completely different than what we think in the mind in the construct. And so it's, you know, we don't want to so much question or try to tug at all the lines to before and after and what this means, because actually it's beyond our capacity to understand these things. But what we can work towards understanding is unconditional love. And that puts love, and it takes it out of this sort of emotional feelings and encounters and others and all these kind of things that we, you know, think about with liking and affinity, and instead puts it and reminds us that it's something otherworldly. It's something outside the construct, actually. And love is a covalent bond. In fact, it holds everything together. And when we understand that, when we give space for that, and we know that the universe itself, this entire manifestation of reality and of experience, is held together by love of the unconditional love of the one creator, that is the netting, that is sort of the grid or the ether, you know, that positive systems is built upon and resides within. In fact, the whole entire world, as I like to call it, the organic template. But we'll get into, you know, other reasons why we don't see that world so much, or what we place on top of that world when we talk about negative alignment. and negative forms in the next video. So positive systems is built upon this notion of unconditional love, of bond that unites, holds, and supports everything within the experience. And it really leans into that in a faith-based way of trust, and in a partnership of love. And as close as we can get to understanding what that unconditional love means, we can tie in things like gratitude, appreciation, love, true love that we have for another, like direct family, children, anyways. And get into distortions. I'm thinking about, misrepresentations and maluse of that kind of stuff, but I'll talk about that in the negative video. So positive systems, when they reside in this space and they live in this notion of always, being a part of a holistic whole, being supported, being seen, and being an integral kind of mosaic tile in the whole picture of what God sees and has seen to create, this creates an interesting formation of boundary. And what do I mean by that? And again, I'm going to speak, I understand these things are hard to do, and I'm not saying, just like I'm not saying that positive alignment doesn't contain anything to do with negativity. Seeking positive alignment within self, with our system, within our own world, or if it's a business or a group or a club or whatever that you're tied into, or working within, it's not to say that these things are not hard to do, or that it's not a conscious choice that we have to make and continuously integrate ourselves with and step into and allow and create. It is. It's very involved. So I'm going to talk about it simplistically, and I'm going to talk like it's the base level of it. But I don't mean to say or impress upon anyone that it's like this kind of one and done, perfect, step into it, and all of a sudden you're positively aligned, so all of it works this way. And it's got a lot more moving pieces than that. But for simplicity and for explanation of what we're getting to, where we're going, I'm going to kind of talk about it like it is. So positively aligned, resting in this notion of always being seen and held and being on purpose, with purpose, the self takes the stamp of approval, takes the stamp of knowledge, of knowing, onto its own self, its own system, and impresses those laws and rules on its own self. Self becomes a universe of itself, inside of itself, and this otherness becomes apparent within the self. And so you gain this place within this dominion of authority, almost like hierarchy of consciousness within, the positive alignment, that allows you to look inwards at yourself and see fractalized consciousness. And with this gift of seeing the manyness within inside of yourself, you can work to learn this oversight, this observation of creator consciousness inside your own self and within all of the little systems of you. Now, this form of oversight within the single system helps the observer to practice positive sharing, giving, exchanges, because of course you know what's going on in your own body, and I mean, some of us don't, and I can speak for myself because I came from a place that was very closed off and I didn't know at all what was going inside my body. But again, this is coming from a foundation of positive alignments and understanding, recognizing the one truth and the one law. And when we offer that space and we have that foundation for ourselves, all the wrinkles start to iron out. And so you can look within yourself and see the oneness and understand fractalized consciousness and start to work with that inner manyness of your cellular consciousness in order to create, work out, and get a feel for yourself of what free communication is all about. Because positive alignment and systems allows conversation, communication, and information exchange from all angles. And what does that really mean? It means it accepts anything and everything that's taking place at the moment for what it is, regardless of or apart, set aside from an affinity of what it wants for it to happen. And this allows good and bad things to be seen, observed, and known, all in the same ratio of awareness as each other. And so we're not using a gradient of what I want or desire to recognize and look for and then draw to me only that which I recognize, desire, and want. It doesn't do recognition. It does observation. And in observation, it sees everything around it. I want that. I don't like that. This is all right. That one sucks. This is okay. That's the best. And it doesn't push away that sucks. It doesn't push away that it sees back there. It's meh, not that great. It allows and it observes. And through that openness and the exchanges, every channel is open, it creates a more fluid and free exchange of all things that are around it. And maybe that thing that was like meh back there, actually when all things are calculated and noticed, the meh back there actually becomes the golden prize. It's the actual neutral balance that serves the whole. Because the great thing that you want over there and the thing that you hate over there, they're kind of polar opposites. And if you go towards this or you go towards that, you're creating an extremity of charge, not a neutrality of harmonious solution for whole. See what I'm saying? You're drawing yourself towards this or that and missing the in-between space, which is actually the peace of mind, peace of heart, that perhaps is actually the most fluid way through or the best solution for a whole. And so positive alignment encourages us to look at all of them and to wait and to feel, sense through mind, body, and spirit, 3 layers, all of the offerings of what each thing has. And in the now moment, third-party experience and the spirit layer come in to speak wisdom through something that's different than the mind and different than the vocal cords or the mouth or emotions. And the spirit layer really sees without time. It doesn't have a linear focus as our frenetic brain does, and as the construct forces us into this pigeonholed place of past, present, and future. We're like looking out this window with having that behind us and this in front of us. The spirit layer, deeper core, the role of the observer, right? This tapping into the infinite creator, your higher self, your spirit, whatever you want to look at that as, that whispers through because it has long range view of the whole, and it really knows where alignment needs to go. And even though your view might want directionality to go this way because you think your goal is out there, this higher sight view, it sees this sort of meandering around path that gets you over there in a much better way than your thing that you think is such a strict path there. And if you wait and listen to transparency, it will say that thing, you'll get this notion, oh, that one, meh, is it? And if you follow it, if you trust in that notion of, oh, wait, I don't see everything. Oh, wait, this forefronted, call it ego, call it shadow, whatever you want to call it. It could even just be a misbalanced center within your own tower that sort of has a bullhorn, and you think that they're in charge, but they're just like the loudest. They might not really be in charge, and they might not have the best vision, even though they are the loudest at the moment. So this sort of inner notion teaches us and shows us that harmonious path, and helps us to want that one and to go for that. So practicing this with the inner systems and understanding how we have inner conversations, and working on our own balance and alignment of our own inner systems first, is foundational to positive productivity, positive alignment. Positive systems in general, they work on the inner first. And in fact, they understand that the inner core and the inside systems are the only place, or the highest place, of dominion and authority for self, for your single self. And for you to actually reach creator consciousness, reach God, reach your higher self, intuition, whatever we want to call this inner peace. It's the only place that it has full dominion, and it can actually exercise its authority, is in the inner system. Once we exercise that authority, there's a ripple effect that prominates and propagates actually in a higher, more powerful resonance through the external system after it's worked into the inner core. And again, this is something misconstrued with the negative systems. They focus on the external and force it through to the internal system after the fact. And that is hugely misimbalanced and upside down. I'll talk about that more, of course, in the negative video. But for upright, proper exchanges and for good balancing, the inner core feeds the external. And then the external replenishes the inner. And so understanding this good communication and observation and oversight within your own system first helps strengthen the muscles of extending this practice out to others, of then viewing another out there as just a reflection of you, as just another inner person, inner system, inner workings that you've already learned to harmoniously place in balance with all of the other selves of self. We learn to extend this out to others and to see them as a placeholder for God, to see them as another extension of your own system out there, and to put consideration and priority in their system, just as high of appreciation and authority as you have for your own system. Equal footing. And what happens when we learn how to do this, and with positive alignments in general, this extension of self happens. And there's a twofold gift that happens when we can mirror out a reflection of self into others out there in positive alignment. We extend out that sovereign gift of on purpose, with purpose, of a sovereignty bestowed by creator consciousness and by the one infinite creator. And that creates the sense of importance and value within the other person. And it gives you a mirror or a window or a portal into God, into seeing like God sees. And it gives you an opportunity to speak with God or higher creator, the one infinite creator, different expression of his fractalized consciousness. And we end up respecting them a lot more. And again, this comes with 360 degrees of acceptance and respect, whether they're saying something we like or not, whether we agree with them or not. Because you start to realize, well, who am I to question the Creator? And again, this is a double-edged sword, and this is the tightrope line walk, which negative will steal and roll out in their favor and get everyone to come into their own systems by manipulating this one truth. But however, if we can live in the one truth and actually extend it out to others around us, we'll see a beautiful harmony offered, where actually nobody can manipulate you. No one can take advantage of that if you don't let them, if you will not bow down to it. Another man can never ride your back unless your knees are already bent. MLK said that. Martin Luther King Jr., excuse me. And it's a wonderful, absolutely true quote, because nothing can hurt you or take anything from you. It's not possible. It is only possible by your choice to be hurt or to have something taken from you. This can be a really, really hard truth for people to accept, because loads of us just want to be victimized. Loads of us just want to be the underdog who made it through like such hard times, or the the bashed down, soul who's just like sort of the beaten puppy or whatever. I don't know. So many people prize themselves in this kind of persona, unfortunately. And again, this all comes from incorrect alignments in the inner self. And if we actually took time to work on inner self and to love inner self first, then we wouldn't have these problems. We wouldn't be seeking things like that. And positive system alignment knows this is very true, and so we stand strong in it. And anytime that we end up with something on our back, a monkey on our back, we step into responsibility of that fact that I bent down for that thing to jump on me in the first place. So let me stand up straight and watch it fall off my back. How do we stand up straight? By grounding in original truth, by knowing this organic template, by connecting center self and cord to God and holding on to that anchor and knowing that it's the realest thing in this entire world. More real than the world, in fact. And these are laws that the positive alignment is grounded in. Now, again, to extending this out to others and to standing in this place of sovereignty, you extend that sovereign gift out to every other person out there. And so when we start to exchange with others from this point of view, what happens actually is sacred boundaries are ignited and are respected. Now, I did a whole video on sacred boundaries, so I'll put a link in the description on this, but this true organic sacred boundary is just like our skin. And if you don't know about the biological definitions and sort of anatomical physiology of the skin is our largest organ. And organs in themselves are defined, right, as a system, something that does a certain work of its own. The skin is the boundary between the outside world and the inside world for us. But think about it. If you put essential oil on your skin, it's seeped right in, and all of the things from the oil spread out through the body. Like a messenger, it grabs all of the things it needs and it sends the messages inside the body to where they're needed to go to. The skin is not an impassable boundary. It's not dense and solid. It's porous, but it's intelligently porous. It's not gate kept with this strict oversight either, because toxins come right in through the skin, right? It's not that it's strict, I get into this with the negative alignment as well. I'll try to bring this metaphor back up. But yeah, in the medical world, if you study biology at school or get into learning in this kind of way, a lot of the explanations that the white coats offer is these channels are tricked by look-alike molecules or proteins or whatever they want to call it. I don't buy into that so much. There's a lot of holes in that idea. But it proves itself to say that this is how positive systems actually work. They allow good and bad in. So when we create this give and take between people and systems, this porous boundary becomes set between us. And it's up to each creator's fractalized consciousness awareness whether or not they choose to respect the other's boundaries, and whether or not they choose to respect their own boundaries enough to uphold them. So you have always a choice point of infringing on another. You have always a choice point of allowing in that which you know is not to your highest good. And each channel, every single little pore, every single little gateway is open and accepting. Now, the body is actually an amazing instrument created by supreme intelligence, that it has an army inside of it as to when toxins come in, it is activated, and it's like, send this straight to here, send this through to here to go and detoxify this, to go and flush it out of the body. We don't need this. This is not of service to us. Send it out. Expel it in the breath. Expel it through, all the different systems, kidneys, the liver, there's all of these different filters within the intelligent design of the body system, which will use what is of use and get rid of that which it doesn't need. And of course, there's many ways to hurt your own system, to put poor system instructions in there, and to teach organs to not do their jobs. And we can get into that at a later time. But meaning to say that our body teaches us truth about how other forms of truth work. And so we have this sort of boundary around us, and with positive systems, there's a respect of sovereign boundary that says that, well, yes, in fact, we are all one. We do have a conjoined humanity consciousness, hive mind. We do have these, people want to call them paranormal, call them, extrasensory, or not everybody has these kind of perceptions or something like that, of say, like telepathy, reading minds. We all have these things. I'll talk about what happened to them in a different video, perhaps. But anyways, in divine organic alignment, we all have this kind of thing where, yeah, you could just get in, feel and sense and see a picture, a symbology, and emotional impressions of what's going on in another person's sense of their sacred boundary in their body. Positive systems recognize and don't infringe. They just don't. They know that they have their own private inside sense of their world, and they respect that. And by honoring and respecting their own sacred boundary, it upholds it strictly, and it creates a buffer zone between the other person where it doesn't impede on them. It doesn't just read their straightaway thoughts or impressions. And it just respects that. And it creates this opaque, polite kind of boundary. This is, why this is part of the construct as well. And, this is why I talk about separation simulation and the fact of like what this world is all about. The construct, the point of it is that we have our own perceptions. The point of it is not the oneness and the holistic. This is an exploration of manyness that has already been embarked upon, that we're a part of. And so to work within what we've been given, I believe, is really the where the truth is at. And learning this kind of buffer zone and allowance of privacy, saying, okay, I don't need to look into what you're doing, because in fact I trust what you're doing, because I know you're created on purpose with purpose, just like I am. I know God's source, infinite intelligence, is speaking through you, is working through you, is doing life through you. And just like as a promise of a transparent promise that I don't want any other will forced upon me, that I want to find God's will for my own exploration of manyness. That's what I'm here for, is to explore out my little portion of infinity here. I have to leave that space and that promise for others to explore out their own proportion of reality as well. And this creates this kind of promise between people where we're interconnected, we're here supportively of each other, and we know that we're, entangled and embodied together. But there's also a promise of privacy, of person, of this agreeance of separation. Not a forced separation, and I'll get into that in the negative talk. And now I've talked for way too long already. But yeah, so, in agreement, in a positively aligned place, privacy gets created organically out of respect for one another. And in this promise of non-infringement, which is what positive systems are based upon. It doesn't mean that there's not communications, and it doesn't mean, it means that it's a more conscious communications that happen between others. And when we get into, multiple people and systems, groups, clubs, a whole business is working together, if and when they ever could, in a positive alignment, there's this trust within each separate being in the whole system that knows it's working holistically for the whole. And that no matter what system or person they are serving in front of them at the moment that they are calling whole, there's still a third party perspective out there that remembers that whole is actually an integral part of the real whole of all experience. And that helps, again, with this respect and this linking into a reflection of infinity, of this eternal, larger picture. And so there's much more harmonious solutions available, much more benevolent good workings that become available, because solutions, problem solving, activities that happen within the system look a lot different and feel a lot different to those involved in it when we have the sacred boundaries established and known and upheld. Because there's this other sort of this linear sense of time with promises being kept and upheld that signals to the consciousness that resides within the system that checks and balances are being made, that positive alignment is being sourced, that a directionality is being attained that is bringing you closer to God and the oneness than it is away from it. And again, this is part of the gift of time and the construct of this sort of linear game. Anyways, I've talked for way too long. I'm going to leave it there for today and come back on a negative video later. Thank you so much if you stuck with me through this long video. I know it said it was going to be short and then it wasn't. But I really appreciate your time and energy so much. Thank you for your contribution to our collective. And I'll see you next time.